Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker, and if you've been a regular viewer of this show over the last 7 years or so, then you more than likely have heard me voice my fanboydom for the now concluded TV drama Pretty Little Liars. One of the stars of that show, Shay Mitchell, who played Emily Fields, has her own YouTube channel now where she provides fashion, hair, and makeup tips. And now you're getting why I subscribe. In no way am I the only one subscribing, though, far from it. In fact, just last week, Mitchell reached 3 million subscribers. To celebrate, she spontaneously decided to run naked, or topless to be accurate, while wearing a unicorn mask, naturally, or should I say au natural, down Sunset Boulevard in LA, and show it on her channel as a way of giving back to her fans. It got me to thinking, don't I owe you guys something for being so loyal to this show? After all, this is year number 10, and I couldn't have done it without you. If only I had a unicorn mask, you would be in for a treat. I don't mean to tease, it's just that sometimes the stars just don't quite align. That said, I pride myself on being a man of my word. Ahead on the show, just what I promised you would get this week. Girls basketball coming up. That's with Bob Parsaliti. Our boys hoops segment spotlights Broad Fording Christian Academy with head coach Brad Spielman stopping by. But first, indoor track and field provided the state qualification stage for North and South Hagerstown athletes last Thursday in a little event known as the 3A West Region Championships, which I unfortunately wasn't able to get to because wrestling that was originally scheduled for Wednesday was rescheduled for the same day due to inclement weather on Wednesday. And unicorn mask or not, I couldn't be in both places at once. So the video you'll see is from meets earlier in the season. 7 South boys, led by junior Andre Toure, who added region titles to his county crowns in the 55-meter hurdles and the 300-meter dash, will be headed to the Prince George's Sports and Learning Center next Tuesday. Toure will be joined by fellow region titleists, senior Nate Moore, the reigning outdoor state champ in the high jump, and junior Khalil Booker in the 55-meter dash, the winner in a race in which 2/100ths of a second was all that separated the top 3 spots. 7 Rebel girls also punched their tickets to states, headlined by junior Emily Alexander, who captured the region title in the 3200 last Thursday. The North Hagerstown contingents boast 3A West champions too. The 4x800-meter relay team of seniors Ben Gazzola, Sage Vipond, Brandon Gassaway, and junior Nate McKenzie seek to add state gold as 4 of the 5 North guys bound for Landover, while junior pole vaulter Devin Riss leads a half dozen North girls in the quest for state titles. The championship meets start with 1A, 2A on Monday. Pictures, descriptions, and accounts from the actual events next week. We're just getting started this week, and when you come back, wrestling receives region dual meet reviews and a county tournament preview. Andy Mason joins me for that right after this.
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny. To shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
Antietam Media Services has been covering local events in our community for over 4 decades. Parades, baseball games, showcase of marching bands, and this past Thursday, the entire Antietam Broadband crew covered boys basketball action from North Hagerstown High.
Watch replays of the Williamsport Wildcats and the North Hagerstown Hubs, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 7 p.m. each evening on Channel 6 and 806. And download our WCL on-the-go app to watch anytime on your mobile device.
When you're sick or hurt and can't be seen by your regular doctor, you just want to feel better faster. Make a convenient appointment or simply walk into Meritus Urgent Care, where you can receive attention from our caring professionals, from sprains and strains to sore throats, earaches, and other ailments that are not life-threatening. Meritus Urgent Care has you covered with on-site labs and x-rays and much more. We're conveniently located on Pennsylvania Avenue in Hagerstown at the Sylvania Center. Feel better faster with Meritus Urgent Care.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue with wrestling now, and three of our county schools coming off region dual tournament appearances last Thursday. And Herald Mail sports editor Andy Mason joins me now. Andy, you got to see Williamsport in person in the 2A West region duels, and man, they put on the best show of any of our county schools. I mean, they were that close to advancing.
Yeah, in fact, they were so close. I sort of thought, I thought for sure they were going to win. They're facing Middletown, a team they haven't beaten in a few years, a team that beat them 38-20 back in December. And here they are, they're up 34-15 with 4 bouts left. It looked like they had them. 4 bouts left, they lost by pin decision. They lose 36-34. And you can go back and look through there. If this guy doesn't get pinned, if this guy wins his closest, you can go back and analyze it and think of all the different ways they could have won. But they just fell a little bit short. However, if there was any silver lining, it was that they didn't have to face Damascus in the final, because Damascus is incredible. Damascus walloped Middletown, and they went on Saturday and won their 6th straight state dual meet title, and they're a real powerhouse right now. But I do know Williamsport wanted to get to that final, and it was disappointing.
Yeah, to be that close to get to the next stage, I know that's something that they wanted for sure. And Coach Rektorvik, I heard him talking about it last week, and they at least wanted that chance.
Yes.
And they wanted to knock off Middletown. There's no doubt about that. Over in 3A West, South Hagerstown, victim of itself to some degree in terms of ineligibility, having a lot of forfeits they had to throw in there against Tuscarora.
Yeah, well, I guess they had, they had an ineligibility, an injury, a kid who quit the team earlier. They just have some holes that have been there for a little bit. But yeah, against Tuscarora beat them handily earlier in the season. I think it was on January 2nd, and then they only won 42-39 this time, but with a few bouts left, they had a clinch, so they forfeited out to get to the stay fresh for that evening's final, which they ended up winning. They beat Linganore to advance to the state duels.
And Boonesboro in 1A, boy, that was a tough trip going to Southern Garrett and taking on
a very good Mountain Ridge team. And I thought I believe it was 59-19. Mountain Ridge, I thought it would be closer. It wasn't Boonesboro's night. Southern Garrett went on to win that region. They defeated Mountain Ridge in the region final and went on to win the state final.
What do we make of those region duels? I mean, obviously, teams had that marked down as a goal to get there. It was a little easier this year, though.
Sure, yeah. I mean, twice as many teams went. It used to just be 2A, 1A, 4A, 3A. This year, every class, 1A, 2A, 3A and 4A had their own duels. So, the field's doubled. So, yeah, it is easier to get there. But it's still an honor to get there. And, we had 3 of our 5 county teams there. So that says a lot about, how strong wrestling is in the county right now. However, each of them lost in the semis. If you look at Williamsport, I've seen, Southern Garrett won that 1A state title, and that's a team that Williamsport beat in a dual meet this year. So, when you look at that 2A West, it's so tough. I mean, Middletown, Damascus, Williamsport, Winters Mill, they're 4, and the 4 teams over there, they're 4 of the best public school teams in the state.
Yeah, and I think we'll find out at the state tournament
just how good.
That they're awfully tough to beat. As far as private schools, St. James won the MAC this past week, and TJ Quillette became the all-time leader at St. James in career victories.
Yeah, how about that? He's just a junior too, so he's had a lot of matches. But yeah, he won his 3rd straight MAC title, and he's got 118 career wins, which is a huge number for a junior. His season's not over yet. He's gonna have a senior year. Now last year he set the county single season record, the all-time Washington County single season record for victories, 52. But I think it was 52-12. He had 64 matches. Give someone like Aaron Brooks 64 matches, he's gonna win more than 52. But he doesn't have. But that's another story. But he's had a great career, and he still has a senior year left, and it's amazing. He broke Tucker Almany, who graduated last year, very good wrestler, had 116 career wins, and TJ's got 2 more than him right now, with a lot of wrestling left.
Well, you mentioned Aaron Brooks, and that's a good segue into the 28th annual County Public Schools Wrestling Tournament coming up this Saturday at Boonesboro, because the news is he'll be there.
Yeah, I understand he's going to, I got a text from him today that he's going to wrestle. I guess he had a doctor's appointment today. The doctor said, go ahead and do it, and he's He's going to be there. He plans to wrestle 182 pounds. You know, right now it's Tuesday. It's not till Thursday night that these coaches have to enter their lineups. So I don't really know exactly what weight where everyone's going to be, but I'm 99% sure Brooks is going to be at 182 pounds.
Now, North Hagerstown has won the last four. But going into this one, more than likely will not be the favorite this
Not the
time
favorite. Yeah, I mean, you have to call Williamsport the favorite based on just the season they've had. Now, a lot of that's dual meets, but yeah, they beat every other county team in dual meets this year, including North. Went 30-3, a great season. 2 of those losses to Middletown. So yeah, based on that, you have to call them the favorite. They're having a great season, but man, the county. We just said 3 of the teams went to region duels. South Hagerstown was a surprise second last year. They're bringing back 3 champs from last year: Derek Hannon, Nick Kelball, and Sean King Pombo. And Boonesboro's good. Now Smithsburg, I don't think is going to make a run for is not deep enough to make a run for the team title. But they've got Shane Havermail, Josh Atkinson. They've got guys who can win some titles. It's going to be it's really exciting. And North's won the last. You can't count, especially with Aaron Brooks back. You cannot count them out. I mean, they finished 3rd at the Hub Cup. They're a great tournament team. They've got some good individuals. It's going to be. I'll be surprised if Williamsport were to finish. They've got 3rd last year. I'll be surprised if I think Williamsport's the favorite. I'll be surprised if they finish lower than 2nd. Nothing else really would surprise me.
Yeah, Williamsport, 1 returning champ, 4 guys who were runners-up last year, and that 3rd place finish was the first time in a long while that Williamsport had not finished at least 2nd. And then Williamsport and North have combined to win the last 10. So these are the 2 schools that have been right there at the
top. And
Smithsburg's
the only other team that's
won
it.
That's it.
South High's never won it. Last year they got 2nd, matched their best
second
finish.
most points they had ever scored.
Yeah, and then there's Boonesboro, which has never finished higher than 3rd. And they have a team that could get top 2 this year.
And they had 3 champions last year for the first time in Boonesboro school history.
Yeah.
So I think this will be an ultra-competitive tournament.
And they've got Tristan Cook back, Peter Riley back, and then Jeffrey Henline, who sort of had a bad county tournament last year, but he was a champion the previous year. So they're going to have 3 guys wrestling Saturday who've won county titles. And then Brooks is in line to become the 16th all-time, 4-time Washington County champion. And I expect that to happen.
So there are a lot of potential storylines coming out of Saturday at Boonesboro, and it all starts what time?
The schedule says 10:45.
Okay.
Preliminaries start at 10:45 a.m. Finals are scheduled to start at 2:30. However, I understand that they're starting at 10:45 and they're going to keep rolling. So, it could be those finals could start at 2 or 3. We'll just see. They're not going to stay on the schedule. They're just going to keep wrestling.
So what you're saying is don't get there too late.
Right.
Well, it should be fun, as we said, and it's going to be very, very competitive. We'll have results coming up next week. Thanks for being here this week, Andy.
Thanks, Wes.
I'm back right after this. I've got boys basketball coach Brad Spielman from Broad Fording Christian. He'll join me in just a moment.
At Hamilton Nissan, we know you've got places to go, so let's travel together. The Nissan Rogue, plenty of room for you, and plenty of room for him. With nearly 40 cubic feet of cargo space, everyone will be using the Rogue for everything, all the time. And on occasion, you'll find an evening for yourselves, and the Nissan Rogue will be right there with you. Hamilton Nissan, let's travel together. Come see us on the Dual Highway.
Kick off the 23rd Western Maryland Blues Fest season with the Cabin Fever Blues Bash, featuring legends of blues and roots rock, the Nighthawks. A roll-up-your-sleeves, drive to the next gig, and night after night make people happy kind of band. So get happy. Get tickets now. Don't miss the Nighthawks. Visit blues-fest.org. The Cabin Fever Blues Bash, March 1st at the Maryland Theater, City Center, Hagerstown. Antietam Media Services has been covering local events in our community for over 4 decades. Parades, baseball games, showcase of marching bands, and this past Thursday, the entire Antietam Broadband crew covered boys basketball action from North Hagerstown High.
Watch replays of the Williamsport Wildcats and the North Hagerstown Hubs, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 7 p.m. each evening on Channel 6 and 806. And download our WCL on-the-go app to watch anytime on your mobile device.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue now with the boys basketball. And joining me is Broad Fording Christian head coach Brad Spielman. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here. You guys are having a tremendous season, 23-5 overall right now. And the thing that I look at when I sort of delve into the schedule that you play, I'm almost mystified by it in a lot of ways. Obviously, the Mason-Dixon Christian Conference schools make sense on there. And then just trying to challenge the program with some of the other teams that you play. But my question to you is, what kind of measuring stick do you put on the team when you play teams that are so different in terms of the caliber of basketball that they play throughout the season?
I mean, honestly, we obviously always want to compete and be at the top of the MDCC. I mean, it's always, I think everybody in the MDCC's goal. But outside of that, we want to push the limits. And I think, 12, 13 years ago, I think Coach Burney, who stepped down a couple years ago, did a great job of taking over the role of we'll play anybody, anywhere, any place, anytime. And I've kind of embraced that concept and taken upon ourselves to continue that schedule and continue the fact that, we want to go out and prove that we're not just a small Christian school that can win the MDCC. We want to show people that, we can still hang with the public schools year in and year out. Now sometimes there's some years where we end up scheduling, because of the way the schedule works out, more public schools that are at the top than at the bottom or at the middle. Case in point, this year, I think, the majority of the public schools that we played have some pretty good records. Actually, I think there was only one that we played that actually has a losing record at this point.
Yeah, well, definitely challenge yourself as the season's gone along. And just to make it even more difficult, how about playing as many games as possible on the road?
I mean, I looked at the schedule, and I'll tell you, we actually had a second glance as a coaching staff, and we're like, wait a second. So when we go up to Allegheny before the Christmas tournament at Williamsport, we actually do not see our home court again until January 30th. And it ended up being a 12-game stretch.
That is almost unfathomable.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't do that on purpose, how does that even happen? And what's interesting to me is, too, of the 23 wins, you're 10-0 at home. So It would stand to reason that playing at home would be a nice place to be able to play from time to time.
Yeah, and it's been one of those years where we haven't been able to catch a break with some of the so-called public schools that are at the top. I mean, it's one of those years where we wish that the Allegheny game would have happened to be at home this year as opposed to last year. And, in the same way with a couple other schools that we go, home and away with every other year. But yeah, it's definitely been, I mean, the kids just play so much. They're just a different team at home.
Well, one of the slogan that you've used this season is "Brotherhood conquers adversity." Can you talk about that a little bit and how you came up with that?
So we were at the beginning of the season. We thought with a good core group of guys coming back. I mean, I think we agreed that within the last 5 to 7 years, easily we had more guys coming back than not. Which is usually rare for us. I mean, it's almost like a community college where every year you feel like you're replacing at least half your team, if not more.
Yeah, you have a lot of seniors this year.
Yes, we actually have 6, actually, I'm sorry. So we sat around, we're like, what can we do that just would make sense and tie BCA into it and make it a part of just, the program itself and bond the kids together as a whole. And we sat around, and actually it's funny because my wife came up with the slogan, "Brotherhood creates achievement," and then we were like, okay, well, is there anything better? And of course, she probably would,
How do you one-up your wife, though?
I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to stay away from that subject. But anyway, I used the excuse that someone else came up with it just to make her feel a little bit better.
Okay, well, it's just you and me talking, that's all.
Yeah.
Nobody else will know about this.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we came up with that, and we just like, you know what, that sounds right. That just sounds right for Broad Fording, and we kind of roll with it.
Tell me about the makeup of this team, because there are so many different cultures coming together. How in the world do you manage and balance all of that and then put together a basketball team that's won 23 out of 28 games?
I tell you, I give mad props to Coach Burney, who did it for 13 years. It is I've came from the college level. I was very fortunate to have 5 years of experience there, and coached a couple of JV teams, one at Greencastle even, before coming to Broad Fording. And it's just a completely different world. And I don't think some people really truly understand just what's involved with trying to not only get different kids every year coming together to play as one, but teaching, guys from, like, this year we have a kid from Denmark and a kid from Russia and, Nigeria. And so all parts, it's not even like it's one, one country or one continent even that they're coming from.
What makes sense, doesn't it? Hagerstown's not that far away from all those places.
Right, yeah.
We're sort of the center of the universe.
Oh, my goodness. But just, trying to teach them the American game, getting them to mesh together. I mean, there's so many aspects that are just involved, and you're also on limited time with the large schedule we play.
Yeah. MDCC tournament starts next week. You'll be the number 1 seed there, so you'll begin play on Tuesday at home.
Correct, yeah. Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, we'll play New Life. And then if we would win the game, we obviously would play that Friday and Saturday in the Final Four. Against, I don't think the seeds have been completely set yet because there's still a game or two left to be played in regular season. That's deciding.
Well, you're the defending champs in that tournament. Best of luck in that and all the rest of your endeavors here. It's great to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Wes. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
I'll be back right after this. Bob Parsalitti joins me. We'll talk a little girls basketball in just a moment.
Antietam Media Services has been covering local events in our community for over 4 decades. Parades, baseball games, showcase of marching bands, and this past Thursday, the entire Antietam Broadband crew covered boys basketball action from North Hagerstown High.
Watch replays of the Williamsport Wildcats and the North Hagerstown Hubs Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 7 p.m. each evening on Channel 6 and 806. And download our WCL on-the-go app to watch anytime on your mobile device.
Antietam Broadband's Flight Gigabit service is ultra-high-speed internet delivered by a direct fiber connection. We are one of the few communities in the country to have it. But what does it mean? It means businesses will want to move here, which means more jobs, better jobs. It means access to world-class infrastructure for healthcare, education, and nonprofits. It means enhanced social and economic well-being. That's why it won the 2017 Leading Edge Award from the Chamber of Commerce. Flight Gigabit from Antietam Broadband, changing how people connect.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue with girls basketball now, and Herald Mail insider Bob Parsalitti joins me now. Bob, we're just a week away from the draw for the public school playoffs, and when you look at Washington County schools, you look at Williamsport first because of the record, 14-6 as we tape here on this Tuesday, and 40 straight victories against county schools, but that won't help Williamsport once the playoffs roll around. As a matter of fact, there's a lot working against the Wildcats.
Yeah, they're not playing any county schools in the playoffs anymore because they're all 1A or 3A. They've hit a wall whenever they play the Frederick schools, and some of the best schools in the state are in their section. So it's going to make it really interesting.
Yeah, 6 schools in that section, 5 of the 6 with records of 500 or better. And then you've got 2 who are undefeated in Middletown and Poolesville. So if things play out the way that they stack up right now, then Williamsport would play the team with the worst record in its section in Seneca Valley, who is sub 500. But then you would more than likely get Poolesville right after that. So, I mean, things just don't get any easier, and they probably shouldn't when you get to the playoffs. But at the same time, man, that is a tough draw. It just underscores what you're talking about in terms of just how challenging 2A West and that section in particular is.
Well, since these pairings are made by record, too, things can change, too. I mean, if they would happen to lose another game, Walkersville could get a hold of them, make them the 4th seed. So they would end up playing,
right.
I think, Damascus.
Yeah, it would be Damascus,
who
has a similar record to them. Yeah,
and they would have it at home, and then if they would win that game, they would go to Middletown, which they've played twice already.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, that's tough. And then over on the other side in Section 1, Oakdale will be the number 1 seed there, a team that just beat Williamsport on Monday night by 20 points and had beaten them earlier in the year. So for Williamsport, the road ahead is very, very difficult. I think our best shot, and certainly we think that we could have, at the very least, a section champion coming out of 1A Section 2, and it looks like Boonesboro pretty much has the number 1 seed wrapped up there, 6-1 against section competition. The only loss was to Clear Spring. Boonesboro plays Clear Spring on Tuesday.
Yeah, and that'll be an interesting game too, because Clear Spring's coming on, and I think Clear Spring's a team that you're going to have to worry about in this thing. They play pretty well. They've held their own against the teams that they have to face that are the 1A schools in this area. And
were you impressed by the win over St. Maria Goretti?
Yeah, I was actually. Goretti is far more athletic than Clear Spring, but I was sitting there and I was trying to get an idea for some all-area ideas, and one of two girls that I would automatically put on no matter what is going to be Maddie McDonough. She's had an incredible year, and I'm not saying first team, second team, player of the year or anything like that, but she's just had an incredible year. Just recently against Williamsport, Kevin Murphy was telling me that they were defending her, and she was like, he said, quote, she was like a NCAA player that just went nuts. You know, we had people draping all over defensively, and she's just making shots left and right. She ended up with 18 points. But, you know, I mean, I've seen her like 2 or 3 times, and one of the things she does very, very well is she catches and shoots. A lot of girls have the tendency of catching and then dribbling a little bit to try to get their rhythm and everything. She does a great job of catching and shooting, and because she can shoot from a little bit of a distance, she brings people out and she can drive past them.
Yeah, that's a huge facet to have in your game, because not only does that open it up for you, it opens it up for others, right? Because when defenders collapse on you, somebody else is open somewhere else.
And Clear Spring is kind of similar to Williamsport. They both have like one person that's over 10 points a game scoring, and the rest of the team is under 7.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, but for Clear Spring, yeah, it does seem like they're a team that has been improving here as the season has gone along, and obviously this is the right time to be playing your best basketball, which on the opposite end of that right now is Smithsburg, losers of 6 in a row as the week begins. It wasn't that long ago we were talking about them getting back to 500, getting injured players back in the lineup, but it hasn't translated into wins.
Well, the only thing that's the saving grace in all this is the fact that the regular season is the preseason, basically.
Well, that sounds like something that Chip Baker says.
Yeah.
I mean, he said that to me earlier this year. He said it's a 22-game exhibition before we get to the season that really matters.
Yeah.
So here it comes.
So, I mean, you know, they have things to figure out. They got people back in time where they can figure out where they fit in. I think part of the problem that Smithsburg has is they only have 2 players that they can really depend on to score. While those other 2 teams that we just talked about have 1 over 10, they have 2 over 10, but then everybody else doesn't do anything. And their biggest problem is trying to get up the ball up the court consistently. They don't like the pressure that well.
Yeah, that has certainly been a bugaboo for Smithsburg this season, and even going back several seasons. So we'll find out what happens. Pairings coming out next Tuesday, as mentioned. Wanted to mention one private school team in Heritage Academy. Looks like they'll wrap up the MDCC regular season title. The tournament gets underway next week, and Heritage goes in 19-3 overall, 14-0 against the conference. They do have 1 win this season, which was by just 1 point over Shalom, a 3-point victory over Broad Fording, and a 5-point win over Calvary Christian. So not a given that they would win that tournament, but certainly Heritage will be the heavy favorite there.
They have a nice team. Michaela Hoy, she'd be the other girl that I was talking about that I think would almost automatically find somewhere on the all-area team because of everything she does. And she's getting a compliment out of Malin Patey. The 2 of them seem to be doing everything. They get a lot of good rebounds, but they're still, they need somebody to help them score sometimes.
Well, we'll find out what they're able to conjure up come the MDCC tournament. Bob, thanks for being here this week.
Thanks for having me on.
Next week, as mentioned on the show, boys and girls playoff draws, plus results from indoor track and field from the state meets and from county wrestling. All of that is next week. Thanks for watching this time, and I'll see you then on the inside.